Yeah! What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Birdman's favorite nerd. Today we are looking at the Mythic Legion's bird people. I don't know what they're called. They don't have names, like proper names, like proper... Well, maybe they do. Let's see. I don't see any, like, proper pronouns. But, whatever. They're bird people and then one dragon person, but they're all basically bird people. Bird people. Bird people. Look like birds. Talk like people. I think they're 4 horseman designs, and there's a lot of good here. There's also a lot of kind of predictable stuff here, and we're going to talk about it all. Most of them are the same molds with variations, so we're going to do one articulation, and then we're going to kind of fly through the rest. This is on loan to me from Brian Brink, part of the Realm of Collectors and part of Plastic Fanatics, and sometimes you can find him on the Hangout Show. He's just a podcasting fool, part of the Cool Table Network, a friend of mine. He asked me if I would be willing to take a look at these. I said yes, as long as I didn't have to do anything to get them back to you. And we're going to be attending a very festive party here in a couple weeks that I might try to do some footage of. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. But the point is I can hand it back to him in person and be done with it. So I figured, you know, who knows? Maybe somebody would want to take a look at these. We might as well take a look at them together. And with that, let's get started. So we'll start with Dragonhead. And now we know there's a lot of things that are disappointing about this set that I'll get into. One of those things that is not is the paint. These things are painted to the nines, and we'll definitely be talking about them. So he comes with a sword, gold handle, silver blade, all painted. And then he comes with 2 extra hands and 2 extra feet. The 2 extra hands are gripping hands and are non-feathered. It looks like he has feathered hands, and then... See, that's weak sauce, Mac. But I would guess he holds this just fine. I'm not going to risk breaking it, but it seems like there's enough tension there to hold it just fine. And then 2 kind of feet hands that are like, you know, ready to pounce on his prey. Let's talk about the figure. So it's a ball peg, but it's a really well-designed ball peg. So you get tons of movement down to there, up to there. Metallic green for the eyes, metallic blue paint, metallic blue dry brushing to the paint, metallic purple paint, and metallic purple dry brushing over the black, gold teeth, all that paint just for the head. It's miraculously applied in today's market. And then the copper paint down at the bottom. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 paint apps just for the head. That is love. I'll never take that away. Moving down the body, we have tons of sculpt work. Tons of sculpt work all in the head, too. All the feathers are sculpted. All the scales are sculpted. It's nothing to turn your nose up at in that regard. The upper torso, I think, is a ball peg. I can't tell if it's one of these things, which is just basically a swivel that comes undone. Tons of sculpt work, though, and then tons of paint. It's this metallic flat copper and then a brighter copper for the line work, and then the gold is painted, and it's a different shade of gold for the wings on the chest. So you get the upper swivel a little bit down and a little bit back, and it doesn't pull apart as easily, so I'm going to say it's a ball peg there. The shoulders are on disc hinges. You get them up to there. All the armor is sculpted and painted the same as the chest. And then you have the additional sculpt work done for this insignia there. Also on the back, you have these wings. They're all sculpted and painted. I mean, like, everything here is sculpted and painted. Like, I think it's better than what NECA does, you know, for a quote-unquote affordable price figure. All right, so bicep swivel here. Double jointed elbow gets you the full range. We have the feathers and scales that are all sculpted as we've seen before. And then we have the hands, which are sculpted and painted with a dry brushing of the metallic purple. I don't really understand how these hands are supposed to interchange. I guess if you just want them, they didn't want to sculpt feathery hands, which I think is a bit of a bummer because there's not a whole lot of different sculpt work here. It would have been nice to get something new. So the waist swivels as well. This is a floating piece. Everything is painted to the nines. So the buckles are painted, the buttons are painted, the red is painted, this is dry brushed brown, and then the strap around it is painted, or the string. The bones here are painted, this whatever that thing is, that's painted the green and silver. Back here, this copper thing is painted gold and brown. So it's not copper at all. Don't know why I said that. Then we have like a bleach bone paint, copper, gold, blue. Like it's tons of passion in the paint of this. This is a soft floating piece. This is a floating piece that's glued on, it feels like. And then this is another piece under it. So all that adds tons of layers and textures and depth to the figure, which I find great as well. I think this is maybe it's, I don't know, it almost looks like it's paint. The copper is definitely painted. It's just, it almost looks like the blue is painted. It's sculpted beautifully with the wrinkles and stuff in it, so that works well. All the armor stuff is all sculpted and painted as we've seen. We have a fade here, dry brushing wise, from the metallic purple to the metallic blue on the thighs. For the hips, you get disc hinges, which is a little antiquated for today, but they go full Van Damme, full Monty, forward, not full Monty back, but that's fine. Single hinge knee. That gets you 90 degrees, but because of the, and then you get another knee or ankle here, basically. It's like two ankles, like a dog, you know? So you get the swivel there, and you get a bit of a range, so you can almost get 90 degrees total. All works well. All the armor paint style is continued through, and then we have the feet, which are black with the blue metallic paint, dry brush blue on the scales, all sculpted and painted. So there is a lot of cool stuff here. And if this was just a one of one, meaning none before it, none to come, the homie that's rapping be the only one that has it, I would say this is fine. But what we do see is a lot of other figures that they put into this mold, which is fine. Let's start with the ankle articulation. It's a hinge, get you an ankle tilt up and down, no type of rocker. But the problem is the other two kind of follow through, and it's just, it gets a little bit repetitive. You know, a couple different variations would have made this really pop. So then we have Parrot Face. Parrot Face comes with a sword that actually has some weathering on it, which we rarely see in 6-inch figures, so that looks great. Same sculpt and everything, but it looks fantastic. And then he has the same type of feet with a dry brush of gray over top for the hands and feet, and you lose the feathered hands. The feathered hands are the same as the other one. All the sculpt is the same. The paint accents are different in terms of the colors, but everything is 100% identical and works the same way. Like, I believe, yep, everything that I can tell is 100% identical, with the exception of the head, which we'll talk about. So it's on the ball peg. We got the black paint. We have this bleached bone with a wash on it. We have this like orangish color with a wash of the flesh tone kind of over top. I mean, a dry brushing, and then we have the red with the dry brushing of that same tone around it, and it's a great sculpt. You know, it really works well. And then we have the eye that's painted green and the black pupil. So tons of sculpt work and great range, and everything else is the same. And then Cockatoo Face, same sculpt, different paint apps. There is a different application of paint where it's like, this is a shading, like a darker blue to a lighter blue. The rest is kind of pretty much done the same, at least it seems. He comes with an identical sword. He comes, or sword rather, and then he comes with a bunch of identical hands and feet with different paint apps. I should say that these hands, these gripping hands, will hold the sword as well, so if you're interested in that. Everything else is the same. We have the blue glossy paint for the beak, and then the black inside with a little bit of red on the tongue, which looks good. This like really white haunting eye, which is really cool. And then some dry brushing, this fading again from a darker blue to a lighter blue, and then within the lighter blue, some dry brushing of white on the feathers, which really makes it pop. So once again, same type of deal, really well painted, really well sculpted, just nothing new to report in terms of review-wise other than the color choices and the different head sculpt. Before we do our final thoughts, let's do some size comparisons. They're bigger figures, so there they are next to Praetorian Guard. And I know you guys are getting tired of seeing Praetorian Guards, I get it. And then Black Widow. So they're larger figures for sure. Let's talk about the negatives. So the negatives are, there's not a lot of difference here, right? It gets a little boring, especially if you're buying these, you know, they all kind of operate the same way. The other negative is they all have bird feet, which does make the articulation kind of difficult. As you'll see in the pictures, it's hard to really get these guys in great dynamic poses because there's no ankle rocker. Ankle rockers are just one of those things that are kind of necessary. The other drawback is because they are on bird feet, and there's, you know, if you look at the angle, just how that works, like just in order to like distribute the weight, it's hard to get them in balanced poses. Now, I will say they are fairly well balanced for what they have to deal with, but it's just getting around the physics of what they have to deal with. And then the other drawback, of course, is that, you know, this is their kind of thing. It has no fiction to go along with it, so you kind of just have to be into really cool figures and really well painted figures and sculpted figures to kind of buy into this line. Which brings us to the positives. If you are that person, then this will be a good addition to your shelf. They are extremely well sculpted, extremely well painted, and all the articulation that is there works fairly well. The one exception being the ankle rocker. It's not there, so it doesn't work well. I'm not sure if I talked about this, but all the wrists, good grief, I'm just bringing the house down. All the wrists swivel and hinge in out, as a heads up. The plastic feels good. They do have a strong presence. They are relatively expensive, but we have to understand this is kind of an independent production, which is why there's so many repaints and all that. And I get all that. It just doesn't change the fact that as a consumer, it gets a little repetitive and dull. But I would never in a million years take anything away from the engineering that is there. I would never in a million years take anything away from the sculpt and paint, which is probably second to none in this scale of figure that I've seen. It is spectacular. But the lack of connection, lack of ankle rocker, and lack of diversity in the sculpts are going to be a drawback. So I can't make this decision for you. This really comes down to what you are looking for in your collection. Hopefully I've helped shine some light on it. For me personally, I'd have to say, for the birds. I'm kidding, it's pretty well done, but it's still not for me because I just have no connection to it. But they are really cool figures. They just have a few drawbacks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.